it is what it is, as they say.
Right.
Um, I don't want to get too personal, but give me your age range.
I am 50, and I'm proud to be able to say I'm 50. Okay.
Say it loud. He's 50 and he's proud, so
Yeah,
that's
you
a
better
good thing.
Absolutely.
So
my same Megan.
that you're exactly right, man. That's a segue into this question. When you were a young man, you were a teenager, was there a lot of gang activity or street cliques or drug cliques or whatever going on when you were young man?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because I grew up in a very fortunate era. I came up in the 80s, and the front end, the early to mid 80s, we didn't, I grew up in Roanoke. We didn't have a whole lot of street violence. We didn't have a whole lot of gang activity, peer pressure. There were cliques. There were groups of young men who all traveled in the same circle, and they would congregate together. And from the outside looking in, maybe that looked like a gang to some folks, but we didn't have gangs. We had crews. There were crews, but that could have consisted of dancing. Back in the 80s, break dancing was very big. We had a lot of entertainment that we did. We weren't ashamed. I look at some gangsters that kind of went on to become gangsters, and I'm like, I remember you wearing a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket back in 1984. So it's kind of hilarious, but I feel fortunate. My cronies, my people that I grew up with, we weren't subjected to a whole lot of ignorance and violence and different things. Now, I mentioned the early and the mid 80s because, as most of us know, in the late 80s, that's when crack hit, and that changed everything. By that time, I was gone. I was living in Washington D.C., and I went from the frying pan into the fire because around that time, Washington, D.C. was the murder capital of the country. So I went from Roanoke, Virginia, where I could walk anywhere in the city without worrying about any type of infraction, to living in one of the most dangerous places in this country, like overnight, which was a huge culture shock for me, So and I didn't live in the heart of DC, but I had an aunt who lived over there, and so I had to go check on her. So I guess I was subjected to it, but I was fortunate,
Yes.
Okay, now jumping into that frying pan in DC, round about what age were you? You still a young man, or?
Yeah, I was late teens, early 20s. And my older brother, he had lived there before I did, so I had people in place who were able to, I was never really on the track of trying to be a hustler or anything like that. And I was fortunate again because I had my mother and my grandparents and my uncles and aunts and everybody who they worked to make sure that I had everything that I needed, and that I didn't get involved with the wrong crowd. And you need that structure. You need a strong family background to kind of keep you on the right track. Now, to that point, I was surrounded by friends and family who were doing all types of things, and as a young person, you kind of want to fit in, but at the same time, you kind of have to know what the repercussions will be if you do go down the wrong hole. You see what I'm saying?
So you had close friends or family that may have been involved in the streets, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was surrounded by it. So.
Were you ever enticed?
Well, I tell you what, I wasn't enticed as if I actually wanted to be an active drug dealer or whatever, but I was probably right there. You know, there's a demographic of the population, middle class guys, and they got everything they ever wanted, but yet and still they get out here in the streets, and everybody's looking at them like, what in the world is he doing? You know, his mama, you know, did this, and his daddy took care of him, et cetera, but yet and still, because they want to fit in so bad, they go do something ridiculous, you know. So
Right.
I was right there, but at the same time, like I said, you know, I've always enjoyed my freedom. So, you know, I've always been blessed with the ability to foresee circumstances.
Right.
So I never had to go to prison to know I didn't want to go to prison. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand
So that part of who I was probably kept me out of more stuff than anything. But like I said, I had many opportunities to go the wrong direction, definitely.
So would you say there are any techniques or strategies that you would recommend to young people to help them avoid going down the wrong path?
And you know, that gets hard. As an adult, first of all, you know, I mentioned my background and when I came up, and that was a different world, you know. Young people today are faced with so much adversity, and we're not even talking about our current situation. I mean, just before, you know, the police violence and, you know, the COVID-19 and all these other things we've been subjected to, young people today, they don't have luxuries overall like my generation did. You know, I worked a part-time job because I wanted extra stuff, but it wasn't a necessity, you know. I've been a teacher over, you know, about 10 years ago. I taught at William Fleming. I taught an African-American male class, something that we had developed through This Valley Works at TAP. And it was really a slap in the face, in the sense that I was confronted with the realities of what it is to be a teenager in a lot of homes. You know, a lot of young people who are responsible for taking care of younger siblings. There's a lot of young people who are responsible for household bills, utilities, maybe. You see what I'm saying? I couldn't fathom at 15 my mama asking me where the cable bill money was. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, so I try not to look at young people and judge them for the decisions that they make. I try to catch them if I ever had an opportunity. I used to do a lot of mentoring, and you know, it's my charge not to disassociate myself from anybody else, but my priority has always been young Black males. All right, because they can relate to me, I can relate to them, and we need more. I don't care what anybody says. Black males, we need more help, okay? Because we the ones who, and not to even use George Floyd, they got that damn knees in our necks from the time we born, okay?
Preach, brother, preach.
Yeah, you know, so we had a huge disadvantage, and a lot of people don't understand it. They can't conceptualize it. You know, this is where they tell you, you know, when you get arrested, well, all you had to do was comply, and it's like, I didn't do anything, you know, and it's a disconnect, you know. Jordan, he was talking about the system, and man, I mean, we don't even have enough time to talk about the system.
We got time, brother.
Do we?
We got time. Speak on it.
We'll be here through next week, you know.
Yeah, speak on it.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're paying attention, you don't even really have to do a whole lot of research to kind of understand the fact that so much of the disenfranchisement of the Black community is by design. And when you start to come into that realization, it's devastating. It blows your mind. you know, and it's like, you know, me as a business owner, I'm always impressed by people who can create things, who can invent things or whatever. And from an objective perspective, the fact that there were certain people hundreds of years ago who had the wherewithal and the ability to create certain situations that would imprison us, not in the bondage sense of slavery, but right. Mentally, you know, systemically, you know, we had a big surge where a lot of people migrated from the South up to the North in the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, you know, yeah, for job opportunities. And what they did, they offered housing in projects, you see, right. All right? So they corralled us, all right? And they made it so that we couldn't own homes as easily, you know. So you had to go where your money would take you, all right? We all know good times. We've all lived the good times. And every episode, you know, we somehow or another hope that the Evans family would get out of the ghetto, all right? Yeah. We didn't realize if they ever got out of the ghetto, that would be the end of the show, okay? That's right. And to that point, if we as a people were, and I mean as a people, not all of us in totality, but Black people as a unit were ever able to get out of the ghetto, all right, this whole country changes for the people who feel like they own this country, all right? We know they stole it, all right? I watched a lot of TV as a child. Everything that I watched on television was a lie, all right? Somehow or another, it was disingenuous. It was some fake, you know. I mean, even the level of racism on television in the 70s and 80s is astounding. If you go back and look at some of these episodes, some of these shows where they let people use the N-word and all these different things, are you kidding me? You know, but there was a whole genre of television and movies. We know them as the Westerns. All right. Who was the hero in the Westerns?
The cowboy.
Cowboy. And right. the villain was the Indian. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They gonna come in here. They gonna pillage us. They gonna rape our women. They gonna kill us. So it's up to us to get them first because they're here. They're gonna attack our, you know, all this. It's all lies, you know. But damn, I rooted against them Indians for 10 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were messing with these poor innocent white folks. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I burned that whole TP down over there. And there goes some more over there. Go get them too, John Wayne.
Right.
All right. Mind control. Okay. So, I mean, like I said, it's impressive. All right. If you really go back all the way back beyond Jim Crow and all these different things, man, the way they set this thing up, I give them a hand clap. They was dirty for it, but it was ingenious. All right. Now, fast forward 400 plus years, we still dealing with the same stuff.
Exactly right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Still dealing with the same thing, man. And you know, it's mind blowing. All right.
Yeah, bro, I listened to a brother speak the other day, and he said, he posed a question: when's the last time you saw a Black family being presented to you with a strong Black male, strong Black female, where the movie or the show was about strong black family, strong black male, and you don't see it. You don't see it anymore.
No, you don't see it anymore.
No, they put it in your face to say, hey, he's gone, he's not there, he's drug dealing, he's gang banging, everything but the other side. Of course there's the drug dealer, of course there's the gang banging. But there's the other side as well, just like in every other race. There's two sides to every story.
Right.
But
it's imagery,
yes, and it's powerful imagery.
Absolutely. And then, and kind of come back around with the television thing. Of course, we know about the Cosby Show. Damon Wayans had a nice show. Even what's my guy's name that passed away? Comedian. Bernie Mac. Yeah. So they all had these shows. That showed the strong male figure in the black family, successful. And it's we got Blackish now, which is great. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, Blackish, boy, I'm gonna tell you, I hated the name when it first came out, but people kept saying, you gotta get past that, Scott. I ain't like that Blackish, And then it was like, give it a shot. So I started watching it and learning, because they take opportunities to teach you a lot of black history, and they go as deep as you can in a 5-minute segment on a 30-minute show, which is only really 15 minutes, okay? Mm-hmm. So you only got 10 minutes left of the regular programming. But, that's been a blessing on a certain level. But it's a thing, man, that we have been subjected to since the beginning of time, where they have tried to water us down, all the way back to slavery, with bucking and all that shit. I'm sorry, but anyway.
You good here, brother. You are good.
I'm just saying, man. It just, it's amazing, and I'm I don't know, because we could talk about all these different things and the protesting and all this different stuff, but I have another thought process, and I had to be very careful in how I articulate it, because it's very offensive in a sense, because I'm sort of an eye for an eye kind of guy, and you can tell people to stop doing stuff until you can't tell them to stop doing stuff anymore. But when you present consequences, then things have a tendency to change. Again, going all the way back to slavery. We can run, but it's more effective when we kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We burn down that whole plantation. So they know when they see us, they're gonna have to kill us too, because they know we're not here for them to put us back into slavery. We're here to kill everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you say things like that now, it becomes very fragile or whatever. But I can't help but go back to the instance from February when the young man down in Georgia, who's jogging or running. I don't care if he was just robbed a damn liquor store. I don't care what had transpired before that. The circumstances that we witnessed in that video. Now, it took them from the time that the video actually came out until the time that they actually arrested these guys. It was about 2 weeks, I think. A lot of back and forth or whatever. George Zimmerman, same situation. Why in the hell is George Zimmerman still breathing? You see what I'm saying?
Why is he? Indeed.
All right, you see? So it's kind of crazy, because that's why I am with it. Let's stop talking about stuff. Let them know. All these damn gangs and all this other stuff we got out here, man. I can't walk through the neighborhood with a red shirt on or blue shirt. What? You're wasting your resources. You see what I'm saying? They over there on the other side of town. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm off track. I'm all over the place. But shit.
Hey, it's all relevant, brother. It's all relevant.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's all relevant, man.
And the frustration that I hear in your voice is the frustration that all of us have right now during this madness, is what I call it. It's complete madness. It's everything from being distracted to the strange way the police have allowed us to take over police stations and burn down this and riot that.
Right.
And these are the same people who just finished killing Brother George. Now all of a sudden they're gonna let us riot, pillage, and plunder.
Right.
The amount of agendas at work is uncountable.
Yeah. There's politics and everything, you know.
Big time.
And it's another unfortunate aspect of society. And you know, there are a lot of people that are riding this you know, Black Lives Matter movement to get their agendas across, because a lot of people know that the repercussions that come from tearing down an old Civil War general's statue and all this other stuff. So they view the social climate right now and kind of hiding behind it. And they're like, hey man, they're gonna burn the country down. So what we need to do to kind of offset this violence, we're gonna give them something. So we're gonna start, you know, we're gonna take down these Confederate statues and whatever. Like
off the pancake thing, right?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So we like you said earlier, we being given pieces, you know.
Absolutely.
But it's wild because of the health crisis that we're in. You know, it's kind of shut everything down. Which, looking back 10, 20 years from now, we may say it was a good thing. It may have saved this country on a certain level, or it might be just enough time for a certain sect of the population to get ready to take it to another level. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what's gonna be on the other end of the corona. All right.
Yeah. Man, that's a subject we would have to book a whole nother Zoom meeting for right there.
Right, yeah. That's gonna take a minute for sure.
Well, let me ask you this: besides relatives, what were there any positive influences in your life, like the Big Brothers program, or sports coaches, or guidance counselors, or something like that?
Yeah. Aside from my mother and my grandparents, you know, I had people in the community, coaches, football coaches, teachers. I had a couple of teachers. We didn't have a whole lot of black male teachers in Roanoke back in the day, but the ones we had usually were coaches. And Coach Roland Lovelace, of course, you know, George Killer Miller. Killer Miller, he was, you know, you had to come through them gates to get to the other side. You had to go see Killer. You know, people like Mr. Cecil Curtis, Lawrence Hamler, you know, they own Hamler Curtis Funeral Home. They were personal friends of my grandparents. So I knew these people personally, you know, and they weren't really from afar role models for me. I kind of got to see them up close and personal. And I always wanted to be a businessman. My father was a businessman. He and his brothers, they had a lot of businesses in Roanoke. Speaking of Gainesboro, speaking of the yard. So, you know, I always looked to people who had their own businesses, because I knew that I didn't want to work for nobody too long, because I have a problem with authority. Yeah, so I had to kind of, you know, you sacrifice, you work, you get out here and you do what you got to do until you can find a little opening. And hopefully, once you find your opening, you do have somebody who can kind of help you along. But yeah, I was fortunate, man. Like I said, Roland Lovelace especially, he's always one that stood out to me because he was my teacher at Ruffin. I went to William Ruffin. And he didn't take no mess. And Mr. Day, Charles Day, who was our principal, they didn't take any mess. And that was a very transitional time, because, you know, you're going from a young child, you're a teenager, but you still act like a little boy. You see what I'm saying? You're
right.
running up and down the damn halls, and, you know, you grabbing girls and you doing silly stuff. Now you get ready to transition to high school, you about to become a little more responsible. So that's a very, very integral part of a young man's development. So I was kind of fortunate, and like I said too, I had my family members. My grandfather, you know, he was a strong Black role model, the first African American supervisor at Appalachian Power Company, you know. So I always had people to look to kind of keep me on the right track and give me perspective, you know. I spoke at William Fleming a few years back, and I had to speak to all the seniors. And what I told them was, you know, you at 16, 17, 18 years old now, you can't be thinking about who you are today, all right? You got to start thinking about the guy that you're going to be, or the young lady that you're going to be 10 years from now, okay? Who do they need you to be right now? You see what I'm saying? You go out here, you get a felony or do something like that, it affects that person, all right? And then you're going to look back and say, dang, you know, I should have done something different. But by that time, it's too late, you know? So in your present life, when you move, you need to move very purposefully, you know what I'm saying? You need to stay away from trouble. Don't follow the crowd, especially if it's a wrong crowd, you know? And I tell young people, look at yourself as a company, as a corporation, okay? I've always been a CEO of Scott Terry-Cabbler Incorporated, you see what I'm saying? So it's up to me to make sure that I'm always straight internally and outwardly, you know? I was raised in a time where shame meant something, all right? You didn't do certain things because if you were found to be a certain type of person, or if you did something or got into something, it brought shame to you, but also to your family, you know? And I didn't want to do that, you know? So because that was instilled in me, I was able to always stay on the straight and narrow. Even when I wanted to do something crazy, I had this thing that clicked in me and was like, you gotta go through some things when you get home, you see? So is it gonna be worth, you know, and they would still beat you back in my day.
Right.
I got a whipping when I was in the damn 8th grade, all right? My mama beat my, all right? I was too old to be getting whippings, but she felt it was incumbent upon her to lay hands on me.
Right.
All right. And I wasn't.
Those were different times. Those were totally different times, brother.
Totally
I got my
different
butt whipped
times.
all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and they would pass you around like a hot potato back in the day. Everybody get a piece, you know.
That's
so
right.
If you had that kind of discipline, and you know, it came from people wanting you to be better than they were. Every generation wants the next generation to be better, you know. And if you had that kind of love and you got that kind of support, then you're ahead of the game, you know.
What about right now? Do you have any role models or I won't say idols, I hate to use the word idols, but do you got any role models that you would still look towards today? If not, you don't.
Well, no, I'm trying to, because I, you know, when you're young, it's very at the front of who your role models and your idols are, you know what I'm saying? Your heroes. But when you get older, you don't even really have time to even think about that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Again, I admire people who are able to overcome adversity, okay? Barack Obama is one that comes to mind, just in the sense that we know what he went through, okay? We didn't see a lot of the stuff that he and his family were subjected to, and to lend yourself to that situation for 8 years, all right? And it never ends, you know. You've been the president, you always gonna be under a certain level of scrutiny and even at risk, all right? So for the rest of his life, he's gonna always be subjected to some type of volatility, you know. Like I said, even Jordan, I'm watching Jordan, you know, and I'm seeing him move, you know, because they're not everybody's going to support him, okay? And I ain't talking about white folks either, all right?
Right.
There's probably, and I don't know anybody personally because nobody has said anything derogatory to me about him, but I know people, all right? And I know there's some folks in Roanoke, Virginia and abroad that want him to go somewhere and sit down. You see what I'm saying? Why don't you go somewhere and sit down, you know? And they've been doing that forever, since slavery, okay? We've all seen Django. Django's a very informative movie as well, you know? And a lot of us, we still have that mindset, you know? But yeah, Jordan, you know, when you get out there, man, and you know, it's a catch-22. You know, the notoriety comes with infamy. You know,
Yeah,
so
keep it plain and simple. You get haters.
you're gonna get some haters. You know,
You're gonna get some haters.
ain't no question. You know, so to see him carrying this thing and moving through it and being a focal point is pretty cool, you know.
It's impressive.
Very much so. So, but he got me and a few others behind him as well, so he know to call when he needs.
That's what's up. Let me say this. It's my opinion that every black person must believe in themselves and see themselves as black excellence.
Yeah.
Could you give the youth some reasons why they should see themselves as black excellence?
Well, and it's funny because I listened to what he said about black excellence, and we kind of had the same principle. And to me, you know, we think of excellence as like the epitome of things, you know, your highest accomplishment or whatever. Me personally, I think black excellence is progress, all right? Not to get comfortable, not to get stagnant. Always rep your people, first of all right? You know, we got people right now who will sit in a room full of white folks and let them tell black jokes, okay? We all know those people, right? I challenge anybody to ever say that they were able to comfortably say something degrading about black folks in my presence, including other black people. You see what I'm saying? I'm the guy that you can't say nothing bad about Roanoke, Virginia. I can say something bad about Roanoke, but you can't, all right? Even if you're from here, because I'm gonna steer you in another direction to remind you of how great it was to grow up here. You see what I'm saying? It, just like everywhere else, it's got its ills, you know. But like I said, first of all, you got to rep your people, all right? Then you have to epitomize your greatness, okay? I exude a certain way of being. There are people that hate my guts, and I love them. I live for them. You see what I'm saying? And they ain't gonna never tell me they hate me, but I know they hate me. And that's one of the things that keeps me going. You know, I'm gonna keep giving you reasons to be internally miserable over there, all right? So I exude a certain level of greatness, and I'm working on instilling that in my daughter. You know, my daughter is very kind, and she wants to make sure that everybody else is taken care of and all these other different things. And I'm reminding her, you on the right path, just make sure that your priority is you, okay? Make sure you take care of you, and then you make sure everybody else is good. You can't make sure everybody else is good, and then you over here with a hole in you. You see what I'm saying? You know. So anybody that keeps moving in the name of progress and building, to me, that's Black excellence. I don't think it's elitism. You know, I got a thing about people that think they're elite and, you know, they above everybody else and they got this and they did that and all that. I don't really fool with them type people too much. But I don't dislike them. I just have to pull them back and remind them. You see what I'm saying? So that's not what I deem to be Black excellence on any level. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, brother, you are indeed an example of Black excellence.